Hi, everyone. Welcome. Carl Steinbeck here. Just wanted to talk today about the hearing we had on Donna Adelson in court before Judge Everett there in Tallahassee, Leon County Courthouse. And there wasn't a lot to see there, folks. It was quite interesting, though, that Donna got to take the stand a couple times, talking about how terrible jail conditions were for her, how she's being extorted and assaulted in jail in different times, different ways. And basically, it was unlivable conditions, is what she was trying to describe. But and then she also talked about her expectations of privacy with regard to drop the drop call she thought was dropped and talking to Charlie. And then there was the hot mic moment where she was in a room talking to other folks, including an estate planning lawyer. So I'm going to talk about that here briefly. Then we'll get to Q&A. So I just want to also set the scene and how I'm looking at this as as someone who's done prosecution defense of felony cases like this. I can tell you that this rudimentary type stuff for the attorneys. As a defense attorney, you need to file something on behalf of your client. You need to keep out all the evidence against your client. Motions to suppress are automatic in this kind of setting. You also have things that also are done to build goodwill with your client, to try to have your client see that you're fighting for your client. In this particular case, these two lawyers, I can just tell by their reactions that they're just going through the motions. They realize they got to go through these kind of hoops to make sure that Donna feels like they're fighting for her, and all that money she's spending on these attorneys is actually panning out for something. So this hearing is pretty much a joke, and there's nothing significant that's going to develop from this, because her conditions that she described, and it was going on ad nauseum. I mean, basically, this was really pretty much Donna wanting to gripe about being there in Tallahassee jail. And so I thought it was overall a win for the Markells, because this is her describing how much she dislikes it there. Well, keep in mind, she was taking part in the efforts to get Professor Dan Markell killed, and she still has two grandsons that really don't even know much at all the family tree of the Markells up in Canada. So this is sort of like it's amazing. I'll talk about that in a wrap up at the end, of how this murder has caused such tremendous hurt and pain for so many people, as well as a separation when you consider separation. But overall, I thought it was a good win for the Markells, because Donna is not going anywhere. The judge is not going to release her, and she's also not going to have this recording suppressed by Judge Everett's rulings, from my estimation. So she went on to talk about how she's locked up there in Leon County for 15 and a half months so far. She even counted the days, 470 days. She mentioned how she was in the first 50 days in a solitary confinement, and then she got moved to an annex. And I guess the annex is where she said it was really terrible. She had 66 bed unit there. She got moved out of the solitary and open bay type setting because there's some kind of maintenance remodeling going on. And while she was in that annex for January to August of last year, that's when it was really much harder to survive the jail life, because she had all the bunks were lined up along each other. Before, she had 10 to like a room in a 60 some unit pod area, but they had little subunit pods as well. So here she's all in open bay, sort of like military barracks. And then she was talking about how being in the annex there, she got even less sleep. She was also having sciatica pain in her back that started then. She'd been treated for 10 years previous to that. And then basically all they would offer is Tylenol, that she's used to getting the steroid injections in her spine. And even her attorney, Telford, said that, when she was questioning the nurse as initially testifying for the state, was talking about how you don't offer steroid injections in the spine in jail, like as if that's a legitimate thing, because it is a serious thing to stick a needle in somebody's spine. I know somebody's paralyzed from that simple procedure. So no, they're not going to do that in the jail. And so anyway, she goes on to talk about how they gave her a second mattress while she's in the annex, but since she left the annex and came back to the main pod area and the main jail portion of the Leon County facilities, that she now has only one mattress. So I mean, it's sort of like this song and dance she's crying about. And I noticed that at no point did she ever cry. She was trying to at one point act like she was crying and trying to wipe her eyes, but there's no tears there. It's just crocodile tears. She's just really mad about her situation. And I took it to be that she's really just mad at other people. There's no self-reflection here. There's no, gosh, how could I have done something so stupid, so evil, so mean? None of that. It's all about what other people have done, and she deserves better than this. They're in the wrong, not her. And then she talks about how in the early part of February, when she was transferred back, she hurt her arm when she was walking past the washing machine. There was a cut there. And then she's talking about how she never got a Band-Aid till the next day, and she had to use a sanitary napkin that somebody offered her because there wasn't also a medical form to fill out to get medical attention. So she basically was complaining about all these little aches and pains that, are just part of getting old, for one, and number two, she is in a jail, and they aren't going to respond to every little need of hers. She's not in a hospital, she's not in a medical clinic, and she's not in a 5-star hotel or resort. So they're not going to be worrying that much about her and urgently taking care of matters. Can she get routine appointments to get any kind of specialty care? Yes, she can. So it's like almost doing this that close to trial. Her trial's less than 4 months away now, about 3.5 months. So I think it's really setting in on her. She's never going to see the light of day, and I think that's the thing that's sort of scaring her and making her angry. And these conditions of the jail are just standard for those across America, and there's nothing special that she's going to get for treatment. So the judge, these conditions of the judge that the judge is hearing, he's not going to be micromanaging in jail how they run their operations. Keep in mind, she earlier complained about conditions back at, what was that, over a year ago, how nasty the jail was there. So in any event, she also talked about some assaults in a shower. Somebody came up and rubbed her hand on her back, and this person was like 6 feet, 200 pounds, demanded commissary once a week. So Donna's having to get extra money for commissary from Charlie. You can get up to $40 a week spent for that. So she was having to basically curry these extra snacks and treats to under her shirt to then go in the bathroom and hand them off to another minion, as she called, for the extorter. So anyway, it's just sort of the kind of thing that the judge is not going to get involved in this, and that's what happens in a jail. That's what happens in a prison, and you don't get judicial intervention on every one of these. But because she's facing murder charges and she's about to go to trial here, as I said, in a couple months, this Arthur hearing is something under floor procedure. Because she's in a non-bondable offense, you sort of can still ask the court to reconsider what the statute otherwise doesn't allow. And so here they're looking at, is she a danger to the community? Is she a flight risk? And is there enough to hold her there as well? So the state had to put on some evidence and describe some of the evidence. So Sarah Dugan did that. Georgia Kaplan wasn't even there. This, like I say, this is not a big production of things. She admitted a lot of stuff into the record from Charlie's trial, because that also implicates Donna, which goes to me saying, like so many times, you that follow this channel, which is Donna should have been right there with Charlie at a minimum of any of the Adelsons. So, but that didn't happen. So now they're having to take all this time to prosecute her individually. But the other thing is then they talked about, she was brought up the questioning about her fleeing for Vietnam, and she says, no, I wasn't fleeing. I just basically the gist of it was she just wanted to clear her head. It was Harvey's idea. They were so shocked and traumatized by Charlie's conviction that they just need to clear their heads and get away. And so it wasn't anything like anybody's supposed to believe otherwise, that this was an attempt to flee justice. So she just very, very much cavalierly mentioned how she thought this was, cleared by her attorneys. Harvey thought it was a good idea, and they knew that she could be arrested. After all, Dan Rochman said she may not make it to the airport, but she took that chance anyway. And then she even goes on and lies about the fact that she wasn't afraid of getting arrested. And this whole response she had was that she basically looked for non-extradition countries so they could come back quicker in the event that the state attorney's office wanted to prosecute her and arrest her. So that's so far-fetched, so ridiculous. Nobody's going to even believe that. And so everyone sees it for what it is. So this is another lame excuse where she thinks she can fool people, that money can buy her out of any situation, and people are so gullible, and she can make these lame excuses. So the thing is, she never once had an idea of coming back. It was so evident. She was even talking about ending her life. So she's in a desperation mode. She wasn't just like, oh, hey, that's upsetting to us that Charlie got convicted. Well, of all the things, you're just going to abandon Charlie. You're going to abandon Charlie there in Leon County while he's waiting to transfer to prison. You're not going to come up and see him. He spent about a month there in the jail before he's finally sentenced, and then even then he was spent more days awaiting transfer to the Florida prison system. So it was just sort of like, let's scram. And there's a lot more questions that'll come out. I think it's pretty obvious she's going to testify. Her attorneys have had her testify now multiple times while she's been awaiting trial. And I think a lot of that has to do with her demanding attention and FaceTime with the judge. And so these attorneys are just capitulating to what she wants, and that's pretty much normal. Like I say, you got to have some kind of client control and make your client feel like you're really going to bat for her. So I did think that the personalities was something I was picking up on for the two different attorneys. Zellman, for example, he seemed very low key, soft spoken, and I would say that the opposite was for the other attorney. Fulford, she was very loud and sort of getting a little bit, I thought, too loud, and her tone of voice was something that I thought would not go over well with the jury. So in a way, I would say that her and Donna are a good match, because I don't think they'll go across well with the jury at all. And but that's who they have as her dynamic duo of lawyers. And it's amazing to see that Donna is really expecting to be released, and that Tallahassee is not going to confine her anymore. She needs to see the outside there and get the proper medical care. Harvey, of all things, was there. You notice at the beginning of the videotape, Harvey was to her right, so she kept on looking to her right. She seemed a little bit choked up, but even seeing Harvey there did not really show any tears coming down her face. So I think this is I think she realizes that every day that she gets closer to trial, this is not going to end well. And so it's very on one hand sort of sad to see an elderly citizen like this sitting there locked up in a jail suit and whatnot. But when you stop to think about the cruelty that's been manifested over 10 years now, and the boys are still not having regular, normal visitation with their grandparents and other extended family up in Canada, it's really sad. And Donna is one of the main driving forces behind it, besides Wendy. And then when you think about the separation that this entails, so by thinking that the killing of Professor Markell is going to somehow better your life, you're going to get better visitation with the boys, and the boys were going to, instead of being up in Tallahassee and you going up there to visit them however much you want to, and you could have easily afforded a second home up there in Tallahassee. And so anytime Wendy had her visitation or extended visitation over summers, they could have stayed that time up there as well. But instead, what they choose to murder Professor Markell, so Wendy could immediately flee to Miami Beach, and they could spend the rest of the boys' formative years there, absent their loving father, the most outstanding father figure you could ask for. But no, he was gunned down in cold blood, such a heinous crime. And then now think about the separation. Contrast that. The motives was to separate these boys from their loving father. And now think about the separation that's in effect. So Donna will never see Charlie again unless and only if he testifies against her, which I think he'll be down there and he'll be testifying again for the state to rebut anything she says that goes off script from this robbery with a layaway plan fiasco they had for defense. And think about Harvey. Harvey has very limited visitations with her. Think how much he's aged since they got arrested at the airport. He doesn't even look hardly recognizable. You sort of really got to study him. There's that side profile shot I've seen on a couple different channels. So I think that if you look at how Donna's aged as well, so this thing is really spiraling out of control. They thought they could control this murder, but things are really, really out of their control at this point. And we have two Adelsons behind bars now with more to go. So it's really like I say, it's a good day for justice for Markels because these are loser motions. They're not going to be granted, and they don't even need the hot mic moment for Donna. But I think the state intends to introduce that as well. There's so much overwhelming evidence that the jury's not going to be out long, just like they weren't for Charlie. So anyway, there'll be more hearings coming up, more motions, and we'll be covering that as well. So with that, if you have questions, go ahead and do the emoji question marks, and we'll jump to those here now. Yes, Monique Dawn, it's sad to see, but choices have consequences. Cindy Collin, I agree that that is so astounding that Wendy's still free, but hopefully not for long. Crazy Joe Lowe, you're saying it looks like Harvey aged 15 years, 15 months. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, think about the stress he's under. He barely sees his wife anymore. He can't touch her. He can't hold her. He can't kiss her even because she's locked up in Leon County Jail. Even though she's there in the courtroom, she's chained up. She got leg chains, hand chains. She can't move but a shuffle. And Harvey's just sitting there. I mean, that can't be fun. But you know what? That's the price you pay. That's the price you pay when you do such a thing. Tiffany Nicole, how can an attorney say with a straight face she's not a flight risk when she had a one-way ticket to Vietnam? Yeah, this is, that's what the attorneys have to do. They have to prop up this story that she says, and no matter how ridiculous it is, they're getting paid. So in the end, they don't mind looking like fools because they're getting paid a pretty penny for that. Happy Go Lucky, you're saying, yep, her attorney was quite loud and confrontational to me. Yeah, and this is in front of a judge. So, she was like objecting to the medical records being admitted or discussed that the state had in their possession. And so just, do they want the judge to know the truth about what's really going on with her medical care, or do they only want to present Donna's version of it? So, but like I say, they don't have much to deal with here. The attorneys realize that I can see from their body language they're just sort of resigned to, well, we're just going through the motions is what our client wants. Gilby's mom, you're saying when will these decisions be made? Is there a date they will be back in court? Yeah, there's other court dates. I don't have them off the top of my head right now, but it does take time for the judge to issue a written opinion on this. So it'll be, I'd say, at least a couple weeks. Yeah, Jules Goldstein, I just answered that. The 70s Slady always, you're saying, or 70s lady always, you're saying Donna's desperate, so disillusioned. Yeah, I mean, she really thinks that there's a chance the judge could go ahead and grant this wish of hers, but it's all a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. Tiffany Nicole, you're saying I'm being serious. It's hard to be an attorney when you have to solve via stories like this. Donna's unbelievable. At least attorneys will get paid. Well, I think normally our attorneys aren't in court and you have the world media to cover it. But so that makes it a whole lot different on one hand there. But on the other side of it is the attorneys and the judges know the attorneys for both sides and the judge know that, this is a fight you got to put up for your client. If the attorneys just sat there, didn't do anything, didn't file any motions, no matter how ridiculous they are, how much they're going to be denied by the court, you still got to do it, still fight for your client. So it's like a legal chess game is how I look at it. Tamara, you're asking, she didn't seem believable on the stand. Did her attorney test drive how she would do on this? And I think they're just letting Donna be Donna, and there's not really a whole lot you can do. Donna wants to tell her story. Donna is a victim here. And so as an attorney, keeping your client off the stand is like a main thing you want to do before you go to trial. And here, it doesn't matter. Donna's wanting to complain about any little thing she can. I mean, she's complaining about a Band-Aid, not getting access to a Band-Aid and all that kind of stuff. Really, that's going to motivate the judge to go, gee, I feel so sorry for you. I'm going to let you get out on bond now. It is delusional. Yeah. All right, let's see. LJ, you're saying, do you agree with your lawyers allowing her to testify? Now I've locked in Donna's flee to Vietnam story, a gift for Georgia. Yeah, it's like I say, it's so ridiculous. It's like a little gnat. It's like you don't even need to present this into evidence, because her leaving at the airport, that's all you need. You don't need to bring in her testimony from this hearing, bring in a transcript or video of her explaining why she went to Vietnam. It's just nobody's going to believe it. It's more of what you're going to hear at her trial, where she's just talking nonsense. It's going to be another version of nonsense you heard from Charlie, that it's just so ridiculous, so far-fetched, that people just going to like reject it in toto. Yes, rest in peace to Dan Markel. Yes, condolences for Ruth Phil Shelley, the family and friends. Yeah, and the thing is also, Donna did not want to rat out these folks that were bullies and extorters and assaulters, because she said she learned not to snitch while you're in jail. And if she thinks this jail life is bad, I'm telling you, it's going to be a whole lot worse in prison. You're going to have a lot more violent people around you, and she's going to probably wind up in solitary again in protective custody. But even there, because she's like Harvey at Purple Unicorn, they're going to stand out. I should say Charlie. Those guys stand out, and they're not going to have the normal type of freedom to maneuver, because I think it's just going to be too dangerous for her. She's going to have too much of these big terrorizing type people coming at her for money. They're gonna have some serious shakedown efforts on her. So it's gonna be pure torture. She's not gonna be able to hide behind jailers and prison guards to stay away from these kind of threats. Yeah, think about it. So Harvey's retirement consists of Tallahassee and South Dakota. So Harvey, who's down in Miami, also now has Wendy here in Austin, Texas, with the grandson. So think about it. He's got his son up in South Dakota prison. His wife's in Florida jail up in Tallahassee, 7 hours away. And then his daughter with the grandsons is in Texas, and that's multiple hours away by flight. So none of these people can ever have a family gathering again together. So it's like, that's what happens when you commit murder. Chantel says, can you explain why it is that the decision about the jail call is an important precedent? How do you think the judge will rule? I think the judge is this is an easy call from the judge. If you're on a two-way conversation, you give consent, you're notified that until you hang up that the call is going to be recorded, and you don't hang up. Well, guess what? Your subjective belief that you did hang up the call is immaterial. This is not even a wiretap issue, and so the reference to this being a wiretap intrusion and violation, it's just not even credible. So I think the judge is going to allow it because of the consent issue. Any type of protection you have under the Fourth Amendment, if you get consent, you don't need to prove anything else because the consent trumps you having to go through normal search warrant processes. So here, there's no search warrant needed because it was all consensual efforts, and because there's no case law in point, then I guess there can be some case law, but in the end, it's not going to matter for the state whether they have this introduced or not. There's just overwhelming enough evidence, but it sounds like they're going to want to introduce it just because of the fact that it just sort of shows her state of mind and how she's wanting to flee the country. She was getting her affairs lined up. She even had an estate planning lawyer there with her. I mean, this doesn't sound like somebody going on vacation, just to clear her mind. Serendipity Smiles. Yes, Harvey was there. There's some photos from other channels. I can remember which one it was. Dumper, yeah, I've already talked about this. So if the judge doesn't have like a well-reasoned findings and legal analysis in his ruling, then he's not going to rule from the bench and cut himself off before he has a chance to do that. So it also lets the parties know that the judge is taking under advisement and seriously considering all issues. So even though it's not something that's a really tough decision to make, this is a very easy decision, I would say, for the judge on both the denial of the bond as well as denying motion to suppress. Amanda Jane, yes, I do believe that Donna and Harvey would self-cancel if she was let on house arrest. I totally believe that. They were already talking about it right after Charlie got convicted, so that's something that she will not want to face this trial, I guarantee you. And I think she realizes that as bad as jail is, prison's a whole lot worse. I'm sure she's probably heard some folks that have been to prison that are in jail that will be telling her horror stories. Bartram Tatum, is potato and spaghetti really a dish served to inmates? So that's every prison has their own type of food they serve, but yeah, that's sort of a traditional American type staple that you can get in a jail or prison. So it's not going to be any good. It's going to be the lowest quality. They're trying to keep the costs down. They outsource this to third parties. So it's sort of like a what I've seen before in assisted living or nursing homes. They try to make the food served there be the cheapest they can possibly get. So it's the worst food you can possibly get, health and nutrition wise. And I mean, you can see the way Donna looks, and she complained about 30% weight gain, and that's a significant amount. But when you're eating all that nasty food and most of it's high carb, low protein, it's not going to serve you well. Miriam Kamuji, you're asking if Donna does not testify in trial, can the state use video of yesterday's testimony transcript only? They can use both if they wanted to, but like I say, I think it's meaningless to use this. There's no effort. The flight effort to get out of the country speaks for itself. Make her defend herself. Don't present what she's trying to use as an excuse for her. Make her testify. So I don't see any prosecutor would ever want to present that kind of ash and trash on their case in chief. Put the pressure on her to testify, because if there's any hesitancy to convict by anybody, once Donna takes a stand, it's game over, and they'll see it for what it is, that she was totally involved in this. Jamie G, is it possible that she truly believes she will get out, or is she just grasping at straws? We all know she'll never get out, but she's capable of truly believing she will. I would say I think she realizes it's an uphill battle. I mean, she wasn't even crying. And the idea that she may not get out, this is a judge that can decide whether you get out or not. You can't even have self-reflection and cry to the fact that you can't get out of jail. So it's just she's very tough. And I think the judge's demeanor, he's not as I think you'll see a difference in his persona as well. The judge realizes that these Adelsons are messing around, their lawyers have messed around, and they're trying to railroad and hijack the legal process there in Tallahassee. So he's gonna buckle down more. He's not gonna be joking around like he did in Charlie's trial that I saw myself. So I think he realizes that Charlie's outcome is still looming over his head. He doesn't want to have another Adelson in his court that he's already had get convicted. So yeah, he's taking this much more serious. He's more straight faced, I would say, and he's going to be that way throughout any of these trials of the Adelsons. Oh, that's a good point here. Happy go lucky. Do you think the attorney's argument Donna not being able to adequately prepare her case can cause a further delay? I hope the case doesn't get deferred to a later date. You know, that just shows you what this is like, a dog and pony show. Okay, the attorneys talk about you can't talk to your client in jail because the connection's bad, all kind of stuff. You walk down to the courthouse, you drive down to the courthouse and go visit your client in the jail. Okay, it's totally private. It's totally separate from all the other chaos things going on in the jail cells there. So there's the attorney did not represent that she was denied access to go see Donna. You notice that didn't happen, and that's exactly what's going on here. So the prosecutor knows it, the judge knows it. Is this all a dog and pony show they're doing for Donna? So I don't think her attorney's going to stand up in court and say, I'm not prepared to go to trial because I couldn't get a hold of Donna via phone. No, you go drive down there, you walk over to the courthouse, and which is right next near the jail, I believe. And in any event, you can see your client pretty much anytime you want. You can even, a lot of jails will have it where you can see them on nights and weekends. You're not limited to the visitor hours that a normal visitor has for a family member or friend of an inmate. So it's just absolute garbage of an argument, but everyone knows that. D saying, based on public available info, it seems Donna is at the controlling heart of this. She decided Wendy should date Dan based on his profile, and then when No Miami, she decided against him. Yeah, I mean, she was a major mover and shaker and instigator in this, but ultimately, I think you have to look back as just as strategic minded, but more of a stealth mode is what Wendy was doing behind this scenes. No decision yet. I'm just predicting the judge is going to deny both motions. So this is pretty much, to me, a no-brainer. Sometimes if the evidence not that significant, the judges can make a ruling against the state and make it look like not everything's one-sided. Throw the defense a bone. But I don't think the judge's going to do that. I think he's going to call it like he sees it, and he's just going to basically rule against her. It was a consensual phone conversation that she thought she hung up but didn't. So she consented. So guess what? It's admissible. Brenna, you're saying I really think Donna really believes her lies. She believes she's innocent, is being treated unfairly in prison. I do think that there's some truth to that. Yeah, that she believes she's a victim in all this. She did nothing wrong, and this is all just the bad people of Tallahassee just out for blood against an innocent person. Yeah, so I do think that she has this belief that what she did is innocent because everything she did was justified. It was justified to have Professor Markell murdered in her mind. Isabel, does she have to pay extra to request bail? And do you think her attorneys lied to her and are not being honest about her chances at trial? I think that they charge her a flat fee. So whatever hearings they have to raise and what motions they have to raise, I think that'd be all in the flat fee. And so she would not be paying any extra for this. And as I've said in the beginning, this is all standard type motions that are raised by defense attorneys. Do I think her attorneys are lying to her, not being honest? I'm not gonna I'm not going to accuse some other lawyers of being liars on something, but I can say that the the wealthier client is, the more you better tell them what they want to hear. Otherwise, they'll be quicker to fire you and hire somebody else. So I would say that lawyers have to be optimistic for a client like Donna. You have to be very much sounding positive and like you got a chance, all that kind of stuff. Just to maintain her as a client and not have her fire you, and you have to return most of the $500,000 or $1 million she had to pay each of these attorneys. So yeah, Sarah Howard, I already mentioned this. So yeah, I think that's should unalive herself. Jamie G, you're saying, does anyone know what Harvey's mental capacity is at this point? Well, we've not heard him speak, but looks wise, you can tell he's really aged fast. Is really hitting him hard. What's going on? And he doesn't look like the kind of guy that's interested in traveling, right? So I think every month that goes by, he's going to be less and less inclined to go see anybody, and that's going to further the downward spiral spin of his health. Yeah, peace. Now you're saying you want to know where Wendy's living. She's living in the Austin, Texas area. I had that verified, but where she's at, where exactly, I'm not going to get into that. California Amy, you're asking, will Charlie testify at Donna's trial? He's going to be on standby, and if anything goes haywire with Donna coming up with some newfangled story about how she didn't know anything about any of this, and Charlie lied to her about what was going on, and she didn't know anything about this murder, and the wiretap was something he told her was something different. So they need Charlie on deck as a rebuttal witness, and so he's not going to be one called on the government's case in chief, but he'll be a rebuttal witness. A Star Moon, you're saying disgusting Donna's feigning, weeping, acting. Yeah, it was, none of it seemed sincere. Other than the fact that I think she's angry and upset, but it's not at herself; it's at other people. Ann Arbor, you're saying she's a flight risk and she has no ties to the community. Why would she be allowed out if Judge Everett would be inclined to do so? Yeah, he's not going to be inclined to do so. He's not going to let these Adelsons pull another fast one on him like he did with Rashbaum, sitting on this case for a year, having that massive conflict, representing Charlie when he had a massive conflict the judge didn't even know about. Yeah, it is the real deal, LJ. That's wait, well, she thinks Leon County's bad. Wow, the prison is just going to be horrendous. Maybe you're saying, when in your opinion does the consent for recording end on the phone call with Charlie? Well, I would say the consent ends when both calls are hung up. And if you don't hang up, the consent is still there. And another thing they could do, they don't even need the recording. They could just subpoena the people that were there, because even though there's an attorney there and they thought that no one else was listening through the jail recordings, those other people in the room could also be subpoenaed because of even the lawyer advice given to a client with another party there, you waive the attorney-client privilege. So that could come in that way as well. And if they say that, well, I don't remember what happened, you could play the recording, say, you were right there. This is what you have for listening, and it's part of that conversation. And some of them also spoke out as well during that conversation, so you could refresh your memory that way. Christine McLeod, you're asking me to do, I think changes should be made for older inmates. There is changes in the sense that if she was in prison and she becomes so elderly that they really can't do regular prison type treatment towards her, where she needs round the clock medical care or nursing home care. So there is like a Florida hospital of sorts where she would go if she becomes basically in the final stages of life. So there is a place like that to bring folks in Florida. I forget where it's at, the name of it, but there is one that exists there. Watercolor Mama, you're asking any thoughts on why defendants with so much humiliating evidence go through a trial are willing to expose all this in front of the world instead of just pleading and sparing the shame. This is something that's very much that's typical, especially with people with a lot of money. They do not want to admit anything. They do not want to be confronted about their involvement, and so they're willing to go to trial, have all this come out, even though it's a slam dunk win. And yeah, it's just one of those deals. They don't ever want to seriously consider a plea agreement, and then after they get convicted, they still don't think, oh, maybe I should have done a plea agreement, because they'll just hunker down in this mindset. I haven't done anything wrong. Anything I did was justified. They're just persecuting me. They don't have any evidence. It all turns into like, well, how the jury got it wrong, just like Charlie said, or the lawyer did wrong to them, didn't fight hard enough for them, all those kind of things. Junebug, this is something that my brother told me about, and John told me it, I guess it's over 2 years ago now, and I was so shocked that justice wasn't happening in Tallahassee that he then had me interview, and he put it on YouTube, and the rest sort of came about from that snowballing. Yeah, Kim Berry, you're saying family reunions June in Tallahassee. Yeah, that's about the extent of it. So if Harvey's not called as a witness, he'd be allowed to sit back behind Donna, and then if Charlie's escorted in, he won't be marching directly past Harvey, but that'd be the only chance that Harvey could see them two in a room, but he's not gonna be able to hug either one of them even. Donna Hoskins, you're saying, is Donna watching his feedback? I do not know, but there's probably someone like Harvey watching this kind of stuff, but he just made me so overwhelmed by the whole situation. He doesn't want to have any kind of reminder of how bad it's going to be or how bad it is right now. Linda O'Gara, I heard Dan's family wrote a letter to the judge. Did I see it? Yeah, I saw a Legal Focus posted that, and so the Markel family was asking through their attorney that the court do not grant this request. They also think that Donna will want to flee justice. She'll escape again for good. She's not coming back, and they want to make sure a trial happens. And so, that would be so foolhardy for the judge to release her on bond. Eric, that's a good question. The reason why is because they went with the hitmen first, the hitman crew first. And when they didn't get a death sentence and for Sigfredo Garcia, they decided to just go ahead with murder without the death penalty. So that was disappointing to see, because in my mind, no matter what happens to the trigger puller, the person that wanted it to happen, that paid the money for it to happen, that to me is the one that of all and is paramount should be facing the death penalty. So I think any of these Adelsons should have been facing the death penalty. So yeah, it's a disappointment. to me, they got it wrong. The state attorney's office got it wrong. I'd be going after the Adelsons, no matter what happens with the trigger puller crew. Because but for the Adelsons, Dan Markel would not be murdered. Okay, Secreto would not have murdered him. He didn't even know who he was. He lived 7 hours away, and so I use the but-for test. Yeah, Tammy, it'll be a couple weeks at least before Judge Everett makes a decision. Tiffany Nicole, yes, they can make Charlie testify if he's under appeal. That's what the statute allows for. Now, if he refuses to testify, then he'd be in contempt. So that's a different matter. But you'd think he'd want to testify to help his mom if he really believed his story. D, you're saying there's more evidence against Donna than there was against Charlie, though some evidence can be lost over time. Some evidence perspective can be gained over time. Yeah, that's true. Some evidence can be gained over time, but some of your most critical evidence can be lost through the health of witnesses. So you don't ever want witnesses to become sick and unavailable or worse. So yeah, I would say that's that can happen. You got this attempt to flee by Donna, so that could be helpful. But you don't need that kind of evidence to wait on that before you can prosecute these folks. Lon Lake, you're saying why would they want to hamper their own motion by saying the medical records needed for the motion were not obtained correctly? Well, I think that has to do with it's very telling because yes, they're trying to present a one-sided story of how bad the medical care is, but then when the nurse wants to testify how they are providing for her needs, they are able to get her outside appointments that they don't want the whole truth coming out, so that's why. And so that's just a big song and dance by the attorney. So like I say, it's all meaningless. None of this matters. She's not gonna be able to bond out. Monique Dawn, you're saying I thought I hung up as not a defense to an otherwise consensual call. That's a good way of saying it. Okay, who's this Mike Stevens guy here? I haven't seen his name come up. Yeah, okay, you're a troll. All right, I'm not afraid to talk about Mike Stevens. So you believe Charlie was being extorted by that criminal girlfriend or criminal husband? Okay, well that's your right to think that, but you obviously know very little about this case, and so I guess you believe Charlie was wrongfully convicted. So you just don't know enough about the case. So okay, so Mike Stevens says he's not Charlie to believe they're innocent. Okay, you can think that. You just don't know enough about the case. So you'd really have to spend um, probably many hours, many days to really get the full gist of what's going on. So if you believe Charlie's credibility on the witness stand, you probably haven't seen that. I mean, do you realize that people left the courtroom? They were so turned off by his testimony. So were you finding his testimony credible, Mike Stevens? So anyway, and I know the Adelsons have paid for folks to try to get on these chats and try to change the public perception and opinion on the justice and lack of justice happening on this case. I mean, shoot, Wendy is paying what $2,000 an hour to have an attorney try to get on here and convince people that she's innocent. So that's the efforts that they spend and time they spend on trying to deflect from the truth coming out. 70s lady saying her son is attorney goes and speaks with his clients in the jail there. Yeah, you cannot say that the phone system isn't working good enough. That's nothing. Okay, this guy's getting banned. So I just banned this Mike Stevens guy. So he's obviously a paid troll for Adelson. So sorry, I'm not going to have that kind of a person here spewing that kind of nonsense. Sully 44, you're saying the mumbo jumbo that Donna's mail order is spewing what you're being. So he's just doing the dog and pony show. Like I say, he wasn't getting riled up about it like Fulford was. He knows the gig's up. She's not going anywhere. Yeah, that's a good one, Miriam. You want to start us down? Are you expecting kosher style person food? Kathy Hoskin, you're saying you saw Donna went a couple times after the judge spoke. She made some nasty faces, and yeah, I mean, her whole demeanor. I mean, it's just nothing likable, nothing likable at all. Get them. What are the odds of political interference in play after all this time? I think their political chips are all spent, used up, and game over. Yeah, the other thing that's a good point I just thought of is that what she could have been asked was, you went to a non-extradition country, which is normally like a third world type country, so you're automatically not going to have the creature comfort. So why don't you just go to Norway? If you went to Norway and you caught wind that you're being about to be arrested or warrants out for your arrest, you could turn yourself to the airport there, and even if you were apprehended by local authorities there, they'd be giving you like caviar and smoked salmon and all kinds of wonderful fresh salads and whatnot if you're held there. I mean, some of these Scandinavian countries, the worst you can get for stealing $10 million is 8 years in prison. For murdering somebody, you'll be out of prison in the maximum, I think, is like 8 to 15 years. And you'll probably serve half of that. So law enforcement over there is really a joke compared to the United States. So they could have gone to countries like that and been living very easily. But the problem is they have an extradition agreement with us. So anyway, and then you waive extradition. So if you don't want to fight, you waive it, and then you get sent out right away. They don't want to sit there and hold you up for many months. That's only if you fight extradition. And oh, by the way, what TV and movies is she's talking about where you're held up in prison and waiting to get transferred back to the United States? I don't know of any movies like that or TV shows. Does anybody know of any like that? Not that I'm not a big person into movies, but I just thought it'd be sort of weird that she made it sound like there's all kinds of movies and shows that talk about this issue that scared her into thinking that this is what she needs to do to go to non-extradition third world type country. Okay, Serendipity Smiles, I took care of that Stevens guy, so thanks for the warning. Yep, grab Wendy before she runs and hides in Mexico. Because think about it, Donna was almost ready to be gone from the country if it wasn't for an alert tip to law enforcement. And so, yeah, Wendy could be gone if they don't have a warrant already ready to go, and she could even with that, she could escape through Mexico and never come back and never face justice. You see, you're saying Jackie, you're talking about Fulford, the female attorney for Donna. She was out of control, and you're not impressed by her. All right, let's see. I'm jumping ahead here. I'm at 12:38 and we're 12:56. I'm a little bit behind here, but you guys have good questions. Yeah, harming Ricky. Do you think the defense is planning some Sixth Amendment claim, i.e., we couldn't prepare for Donna Adelson to trial due to jail conditions, sickness? No, that's an absolute flat out loser. Like I said, Fulford and Fellman, they can go down and visit her anytime they want. Sometimes the attorney rooms are they're full, but they could always come back when they're not. So that's nobody's going to buy that in the legal system. Louis Lanthier, you're asking why the meds getting out so late in the evening. Yeah, and also why is she waking up early in the morning? That's the rules. That's the rules they have, and jail's not supposed to be cushy, and it probably works from a correctional standpoint as well. You wake people up in the middle of the night, make them eat food. Then they're going to be less, they're getting more sleepy during the day, and not as inclined to want to fight. So there's probably some psychological aspects to that. All right, let's see here. Yes, sir, Howard. You're saying there's a Florida State prison for the criminally insane in Chattahoochee, Florida. I think that's the mental one. I think that's also where they take it's more like a retirement for geriatrics, end of life type inmates, where they just can't maintain them in a regular prison. Tony Ferguson, you're asking, do you think they would offer a deal to Donna if she told the entire story and implicated Wendy? You know, that's something that if they know Donna's near, she's got maybe potentially cut a deal to get Wendy. I could see that being a possibility, but the problem is I don't know that they would shave enough time off for her to make Donna be enticed by that. So would they be willing to do that? But they're not going to offer Donna when they know they can get her convicted in toto without cutting a deal like that. Because think about it, once when Donna gets convicted, maybe then she'd be more motivated to tell the truth. So I don't think they believe that she'd be willing to flip on Wendy, and flipping on Wendy would also mean she'd have to tell the truth about Harvey. So they could have like a joint package deal, no prosecution against Harvey, or Harvey would plead to something in light. In exchange, they both get out in 5-10 years. But 5 or 10 years for first degree murder, you don't really see deals like that. And then when you compare it though to what the cooperator did, Rivera, he got what he's going to be out in about another 7 years, I believe it is. He's serving a concurrent federal sentence, and then he's going to go over to the state system, and so he's going to be out before any of these Adelsons ever will. These Adelsons will never see the light of day unless they cooperate. But I just don't see a deal being offered by the state. Now, if Donna wants to come forward and offer something, but she's not going to be reasonable about it. She's not. She's going to want to get a sweetheart deal like Katie McBanwa did, so where he gets out of jail right away, and that's not going to happen. Thumper, you're saying, did Donna implicate Harvey when she said they both return as if charges were against either of them? She slipped in if she testifies, will prosecution nail her on that detail? I don't know that they'd think about that kind of detail, but that's something that could be brought up. True crime metrics, you're asking if Donna manages to get a hung jury, would the requirements be following that? Would the state have to return a certain amount of days? That's something that's negotiated with the two parties. Normally, folks want to get a retrial done, especially sooner than later, because especially if you have someone that's still in confinement like that. Now, if she's out on bond, then the defense would probably try to delay it as much as they can. But if somebody's in confinement, pretrial jail, they want to get it sooner than later done. And here you got new counsels that took some extra time as well. Yeah, just let's see here. I mean, that's you're asking what is the status of any potential sanctions against Rashomon for all the conflicts he caused? Won't the state bar have anything to say on that? I don't know what the state bar will do there. I mean, they look at the history of the attorney, how long they've been an attorney, do they have any prior sanctions, disciplinary actions against them, and then look at what it caused for hardship to his client here, any misleading of the court and things of that nature. So there's a lot of stuff they can look at. But in the end, he could only get a slap in the wrist, or he could get a suspension. Maybe he could get disbarred. I have no idea. I've not studied the history of disciplinary actions there for attorneys in Florida, but I'd say they're probably more on a weak side of justice compared to most other states. Okay, John Smith, you're saying just like the Dr. Seaver's murder, the husband who paid for it was one to get the death penalty. Yeah, that's the way it should work. So I don't know. Everything, so many things are different in Tallahassee. I don't get it. Young black economist, you're saying you watched Wendy's interrogation. First of all, it's not an interrogation. She was only interviewed. She was never interrogated. Interrogation is where you're trying to press somebody to confess because you know the details to corner them on. They didn't have enough details to corner Wendy on, so it was totally an interview. And within 25 minutes into it, it was already concluded. And by the way you can tell that Detective Isom acted, that he had already cleared her in his mind. Carol Taylor, you're asking what does a judge ever have to weigh for a bond to be denied? He's got to look at the evidence and see if she's a flight risk or threat to the community. He must find that there's enough evidence to hold her over for a trial. So all those three things will be met. All right. Mecca, you're asking, is it possible that the entire case goes slow because of shortage of staff in the prosecutor's office? And I would say that it's not. It's already set for trial, so they're gonna commit to that. They want to get this out of the way. All parties want to get this out of the way. So Nick Smith, you're asking how would Donna and Harvey access their money if they're out of the country? Well, they could access the money by basically ATM and whatnot. They still have those kind of things over there, wire transfers. Esther, you're asking, well, what does moving to Texas have to do with Wendy? Well, one, the Markel Visitation and Grandparent Visitation Act doesn't apply to Texas. It only applies to Florida. So basically, when Wendy's arrested, it's not going to have any effect on what happens to the boys in terms of that act kicking in to get um, extra visitation for the Markel family. Yeah. Thanks, Saudade. I do try to tolerate other people's differing opinions. But when they're unprofessional, or when it looks to me obvious that they're a troll and most likely a paid troll, then I'll go ahead and zap them. They're just trying to hijack the channel, so not going to let that happen. So thanks for you that alerted me to that. Chewy boy, you're saying, will the judge release a statement or will there be another court hearing? There's going to be more hearings coming up. There's going to be more motions to be raised. And so the judge is going to issue a written opinion on this Arthur hearing and whether he should grant some kind of bond and restricted bond on local conditions. So even the defense was conceding that Donna would stay locally, that Harvey would find a place for them to stay, and then they would not leave Leon County. In essence, is what they were asking the judge to do to have those kind of restrictions. They did not ask for a leg monitor, which is something else they could do, but in any event. Yeah, so I'm just thinking about that again. It's like, so was there any kind of code spoken between Charlie and his mom where he's basically telling her, get the heck out of Dodge, flee the country. You're going to be next, mom. I'm worried about you and dad. Go ahead and leave. So, and if not, why didn't she say goodbye to Charlie? If she thought it was all legal and it's not going to, this is not because of she was afraid of being arrested. I mean, just the fact that she said, I'm not afraid of being arrested. Of course you were. I mean, so obvious that was not being a truthful comment. Paul is saying, why did she say if we came back, we'd turn ourselves in? No innocent person would say that. Well, I think it's all smoke and mirrors. She doesn't believe anything she was saying. She just wants to say what she thinks will convince the judge to let her out. Estera Moon, you're saying highly doubt aggressive confrontational female attorneys like Maricel, Jackie, how their attitude is going with jurors. Yeah, you're not going to do well with jurors. I can tell you that. Guarantee you that. And I'm perfectly fine with her representing Donna. Yeah, because I can say that with Donna having Fulford on there, I think she'll alienate the jury even more so than Rashbaum did. Serendipity Smells, you're asking how much and what part specifically of her testimony in these pretrial hearings can be used against her in trial. I don't think you need to worry about any of it. I think it's just all ash and trash, garbage testimony. It's like, oh, really? That's what your defense is? As a prosecutor, I'm not worried about presenting the defense of the client or the defendant I'm prosecuting. I want them to get up on the stand. This will force her to get on the stand more by her having to explain why she fled. So you got the perfect thing to get her up on the stand. So if I introduced her statement, what she gave when she was talking about why she fled the country, and that's her defense. I don't want to help introduce a defense when I'm the prosecutor. I mean, I guess on one hand, you could say you're bringing out the full story as a prosecutor. That's one thing I try to do. But if this helps entice her to take the stand and testify, I don't want to cut myself off the knees here. I want, every time I'm prosecuting a case, I want to have the defendant get on the stand. Most of the time they don't, but when they do, that's like that's your perfect opportunity to rake them over the coals and expose all the lies. And pretty much, usually, if a defendant gets on the stand, that alone is going to make or break their case. If they're not likable, if they say one little lie, the juries just look at that and say, we're done. We don't believe this defendant. They're guilty. They'll have no problems. Once they really see the true personality come out on cross examination, they'll have no problems convicting. Okay, True Crime Matrix. You're actually impressed with Jackie Fulford's performance in the courtroom this morning. Okay. You thought she focused on things she needed to advance her strategy, did well getting it over. Okay, that's fine. I'm just telling you that overall, I don't think that'll apply to a jury. I'm absolutely convinced. But even if she is somebody like you, your perception of her, I think that in the end, they're going to look at the evidence, and that's what's going to matter. The evidence is overwhelming of her involvement. Frog is on. You're saying Rivera seems to be the only truthful co-conspirator. Yeah, that's been the case so far, right? And he's the one that with the worst criminal record. Elida DeBrun, you're saying Donna had two options: to flee or to unalive themselves. Yeah, that's pretty much what she said in the hot mic situation. You, I'm not following that case at all, so I don't know anything about it. Sorry. Harmony Reiki, yeah, I think Jackie and Donna are not likable in that kind of setting. Jackie could be a very nice, sweet person outside the courtroom, but I'm telling you, in the courtroom, that kind of persona, I just do not think goes well with the jury. Dr. Cancella is saying, will Wendy's book and creative writing latex husband material be admitted as evidence that Wendy's own future trial or would be ruled as too prejudicial? No, I think it directly ties her to have a motive, and it directly shows the hate involved. I don't think David Hack's asking any chance the boys will be called to testify as to what they know or feel. I don't think the state's gone to that effort, and now that they're older and stuff like that, you think they'd probably maybe be able to say things that their mom has said or Donna has said, Harvey. But I just don't think they're going to even open that door. I don't think they're that detail oriented. Inboard 76, you're asking, do I find Donna's attorney's argument that she had a right to privacy on the jail call once Charlie hung up? No, because she was supposed to hang up as well. I just don't think the judge is going to curtail that. If the recording's going, you're warned of that. Unless both parties end the call, the recordings will continue, and so there's no surprise there. She could have wanted it to end there, but the judge is going to look at it. There's no reasonable expectation of privacy. That's what the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution applies to, and so it's all reasonableness, and all reasonableness is decided by case law. So I think the case law here will, in turn, rule that that it was totally admissible because um, the consent to record is what was controlling, not when she subjectively thought the call ended. And David Hackett, you're saying, why hasn't Harvey been arrested too? Seems like low hanging fruit when he's fleeing too. Yeah, I think there's also evidence of his involvement. There's just not, and I put a video out about that some time ago, so you can, if you haven't seen that, there's a number of indicators that he was totally behind this. And think about it also as well. He was involved in advising Donna on whether she should go with him over out of the country to flee justice. So Harvey's totally up to his eyeballs in this as well. Smoke it, you're asking, do I think Donna's trying to dig herself such a hole by putting down the jail system and inmates that they'll be forced to upgrade her conditions or move her somewhere else less restricted? No, I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think they're just she's going to be in solitary. They don't want to take it personal. They're just doing their job. Dr. Ansel, you're saying, I hope Rajman has to testify about his interview on Survivor. Yeah, well, that would maybe come out in his disciplinary proceedings, but having a defense attorney testifies to what was going on behind the scenes with Donna and all that, I just don't see that happening. The state's not going to go there. They're going to call other attorneys for other reasons, and I think good reasons, great reasons. They're doing really smart on that. I think that's going to break up that log jam. And think about it: you have the Adelsons. Um, the Adelsons right away ran to lawyers as soon as the hitmen get arrested, right? And then their lawyer is contacting the hitmen's lawyers. Does that sound like something innocent people do? No, and the state wants to bring that forward to show that that was part of the conspiracy network. So it's a great strategy, great maneuver. Aunt Nancy, I agree. The bump nest definitely shows Donna's involvement. I mean, you're saying it's a good thing Wendy's inheritance going to defense lawyers. Sorry, Wendy, that was an expensive TV set. Charlie got you, LOL. Well, yeah, I mean, it is going to lawyers and it will continue to be draining them because think about all the appeals they got to do, all the retrials, if that happens with Charlie, for example. So all this kind of stuff is going to like bankrupt them in the end. And in the end, the boys also suffer too. That's the other part of it that's sad. Monique Dunn, you're asking, do I think there's other evidence like digital devices that'll come out in trial implicating Wendy? I think there's more evidence they have against Wendy that'll be introduced this time around. Yes, I do. We haven't seen it all yet. Miriam, again, you're asking, no disrespect to Detective Isom, day one written off Wendy Adelson as suspect. I think it caused a 2-year delay in justice. Do I agree that the early assumption sidetrack case? Yeah, I think it hamstrung them for a while, but I think eventually down the road they sort of realized what was going on. But it took them very slow thinking to finally get this case up to speed. They just didn't search the right areas and question the right people. So yeah, it's been very much, I would say, ball dropped in a big way in many different from many different perspectives. Ocean Girl 505, you're asking, will they finally arrest Wendy and Harvey? I pray that Mark Hales live to see that day. Yes, that I think that'll happen. But I think they're going one at a time. This slow, very slow, too slow, methodical approach. Jim Glatar, you're saying what type of defendant's personality do you think appeals positively to a jury? You know, that's it's just something that I can pick up on right away. I guess from my experience in trying a lot of cases, I can just pick up on whether it's how somebody comes across to a jury, whether it's an attorney or a defendant or a plaintiff is a civil case. And there's just a likability factor about it. So, they have to come across as sincere, have integrity, have some kind of, they also have to have the facts behind them. So you just can't have somebody that's likable and just get up there and start being fake about it. So you have to be real. I would say to have that personality that's likable, you have to be real, you have to be sincere, and you can't be fake and you can't lie. So those are some of the basic foundations of a credible defendant or any kind of witness in court. Also for attorneys, if attorneys are trying to talk stories that just belie common sense, they're trying to hoodwink the jury. The juries pick up on that kind of stuff. For the most part, they screen out the bad ones on the jury selection process. Yeah, Harmony Reiki, you're saying she perfectly didn't tell Charlie about her upcoming trip. In fact, she said, Dad and I are always here for you. Here for you. Okay. And then you're going to flee the country. So yeah, that's something that shows the fact that she was how scared she really was. Thanks for your compliment, David. Also to John, it's great support. Yeah, I can do this without my brother John, with all this equipment and know-how he's done. And yeah, there's more indicators to add. In fact, the one that we first did, I mean, there's so much more to add to that. That was just a real quick one that was done. And so I was thinking about doing another one where I break it down more, like maybe do 5 or 10 at a time, and we could easily get over 100 again. So do you guys think I should do that? Let me know in the comments here if you do. Andrew B, you're asking, are Charlie and Donna able to compete with each other? No, I don't. I think there's no communication. So like I say, she's really in a black hole now. Jules Goldstein, you're asking, can the Adelson family still talk to each other through their attorneys? I would say yes in terms of passing information along, but actually being on the same phone call, like a conference call, I don't think that's allowed, and I don't think the attorney's willing to risk those privileges to have the Adelsons communicate that way. There's snake hips again, saying Harvey's probably lost what mind he had. Well, I mean, he's got to be losing his mind thinking about all this. Talk about having a easy life on easy street, and now you're going through the road to hell. I mean, it's like terrible. uh and Snake Hips asking, will prison be as bad as jail? Oh, it's way worse. Trust me, the extortions that I talked about. I remember doing a video with John one time. We talked about the extortions that Charlie will face, and Donna's going to face them as well. But it's going to be horrendous compared to jail. Jail's the walk in the park compared to prison. Kim DeLorme is saying, totally agree. It's a waste of the Mark Hills definitely had enough of this. Prayers for Ruth, Phil, and family. Yeah, we just please hurry up. State Attorney's Office. All right, you guys are saying yes to indicator, some of y'all. Kathy S saying she spent $7,000 on constant phone calls with Harvey. His brain has to be numb for all the happen. Yeah, can you imagine Harvey sitting there listening to all of her griping and complaining all day long, the hours that they talk on the phone? That's punishment right there, right, for both of them. Sylvia S. Did the prosecutors drag their heels on prosecuting the shooters too? Yeah, it was still even slow back then. Yeah, it was very slow. All right, looks like no one's complaining about the doing more indicators. Turn his hearing aids down. uh, Jamie G said, "Will Donna be convicted in the same record time as Charlie?" I think it's going to be real quick, within less than probably 2 hours. If they have a lunch um, built into that, then I'll be like closer to 3, like I was with Charlie's. But yeah, they're not going to take long. They got to make sure they do the right jury selection, and they can't leave any folks on there that have some kind of axe to grind against the government. Dr. Cancel, that's an interesting perspective. Donna's hearing was a guilt trip and pity play directed to Harvey, Charlie, Wendy, and even Rob. Dr. Rob's the non-Florida Adelson that has nothing to do with this kind of criminal corrupt behavior. She wants them to feel sorry for her in hopes that they don't rat on her and they keep the canteen going. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, we're still in live here. The Florida court reporter. I don't think I've ever done it on this early in the day, so I thought I could loop in some of the European, South African supporters of the Justice for Markel on this time schedule. Beachside Boomer saying, "Carl, is it the attorney's job to prepare their client for a possible conviction?" It didn't seem like that happened in Charlie's trial. Dan had him believing that he'd be driving him down to Miami. Yeah, that's what it sounded like if you believe Charlie. And I would say, this is what attorneys do. It's all personality driven and what your experience leads you to do and how you prepare your client. But I would never go to trial, make my client think that it's a walk in the park, a slam dunk win. Um, I've told I've told clients before that um, I guarantee I can get this case dismissed. And I've done that because if a case is outrageous enough, I believe I can uh, just going after the prosecution aggressively enough that I'll have them capitulate and dismiss the charges. Or if the facts are still so ridiculous, I'm convinced the jury will not find him guilty. I've said that there's no way we should lose this case, but we ought to prepare and have the mindset. Hey, don't take it for granted. Don't be sitting up there like Charlie on the witness stand, acting all cocky and arrogant and conceited, because the jury, you could lose an otherwise winnable case that way. So yeah, Charlie's personality sunk him for sure. And so you do have to prepare your clients, I think, to be an attorney that's worth your weight. Crazy Joe Low, you're saying any sentence for Donna will be a life sentence at this point. Do you think she might reconsider a plea if they can ensure she'd serve her time in a minimum security prison? I don't think Donna is really ready to accept, some other comments have said. I don't think Donna is ready to accept any involvement or guilt in this whatsoever. I think she's looking at is this being the injustice is being done to her. She didn't do any injustice against anybody else. Yeah, Liverpool, England. Welcome. I think you're probably 7 hours ahead of this. Probably 8:30 on a Friday night there. David Hack. Oh, come on, Charlie scored a 95. Yeah, so I was thinking about using that as in the title, for today's live stream, saying how uh, Donna's testimony was like a negative 95 or something like that. So yeah, She didn't score well at all. But yeah, it's back to that question though about minimum security. I just don't think that. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think that she's going to have to be convicted, and then she's maybe going to. It's going to start sinking in. But I don't. I don't think she's ever going to come around. What could they? There's one motivating thing. I think when he walked in the streets and allowing all of her family to be locked up and prosecuted. Maybe if Harvey got arrested, maybe that would tip the scales and make her say, you know what, all I want to live for is seeing Wendy behind bars. That may happen, but I don't know if the prosecution would be that aggressive. Hey, look at me. You're saying I can't imagine Dawn admitting to anything because of her grandson. She can't lose favor with them. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, she doesn't really. She's never going to probably see them again. You think Wendy's going to drive to a Florida prison to see her? I just don't see that happening. I think they'll never see their grandmother again. Okay, yeah, it's 7:30. Liverpool, England. I think the soonest is going to be after Donna gets convicted. That's going to be the soonest. How long after that? Is it going to be a few days, like a week, like Donna's? But don't know. It's like it's just really demoralizing, isn't it? How slow this thing's being processed. Independent thing you're asking, I think Wendy's watching Donna's hearing, if she has any feelings about her. I think it's completely totally checked out. I think she's written them off. I think she wants no input and involvement in anything having to do with um, her mother. And get them and saying to you, I believe the folks that tipped the FBI and the Flea Temple will also be called. Yeah, that's a possibility. I think that will happen. I think it's that one nightclub owner. I think he's one of the ones that called it in. That was friends of Charlie. Wow, Themay Angeliditis. Watching from Perth, Western Australia. Didn't Sarah question Donna about unliving herself in the comments? 3:30 a.m. here. I I do not recall that off the top of my head. For some reason, oh, why didn't she? Yeah, she didn't ask. You know why? Because this is not the trial. I don't think she wants to like spring any questions on her at this kind of hearing. It's like I say, a meaningless hearing. It doesn't matter what Donna says. She's going down. She's not going to be able. She's not going to be able to say anything that's going to save herself. Yeah, I think most people want Wendy to be arrested next. How about Wendy and Harvey? Francis Frutrell, you're saying, oops, you're saying, where'd they go? Maybe a live stream and ask for suggestions for your indicators. Yeah, I mean, there's you guys come up with good stuff too. I don't have all the answers on every single possible detail and angle of this case. That's why I think on a case like this, it's important to tag team, bring different perspectives. But because there's so many different rabbit holes you can go down on how much these different things are indicators. In the end, there's so many of them. It's like you don't need to get every single one of them, right? There's so many that are compelling enough in their own right. Jules Goldstein, you're saying I don't think Wendy watched anything. She doesn't want to trace her devices. I'm sure she has spies doing it for her. Yeah, I think there's a few folks, or they hire folks to do this kind of trolling. True crime metrics, you're saying had Donna's trial and possible conviction Well, it had been a guaranteed conviction occurred last year. Do I think Wendy's arrest would have been soon followed? Well, I sure hope so. Gosh, if they don't, I don't want to get teed up on that. You guys know I can get pretty spun up and not very happy about that kind of stuff when justice is delayed and denied as bad as it's been on this case. The Markells deserve better. Lady Benjamin, I find the state's admission that they have WhatsApp data should make Wendy very, very nervous. Do you agree? Yeah, I think there's more stuff out there on Wendy that's going to come to light. So, wow, that definitely that'll be the day, won't it? Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. A few more questions. Best Antiques, you're saying, I think the prosecution is waiting for the kids to turn 18 before arresting Wendy. I don't agree. That's the reason why I don't think prosecutors ever look at that, because otherwise, you know, imagine if that was sort of like the bar that was set for prosecutions. Like, well, a spouse can murder the other spouse or ex-spouse, and we're not going to go after them until the kids turn 18. Well, what if the kids are 3 and 4 years old or a baby? So basically, let killers walk the streets for that long. I don't think any prosecution that looks at it from that perspective. Think about it. You're then having children being raised by someone that's murdered their spouse. I mean, that's sort of what do you think is what do you think is doing to the development of those children? Yeah, that's a good example, Sydney Collin. Didn't give Katie that grace, right? Katie's was had two kids from Sergio Garcia. They went after the death penalty for both of them. So yeah, that sort of blows that theory out of the water. Laura Blake, sorry if you asked already, but why do I think that they put Donna on the stand yesterday? I think they put Donna on the stand yesterday because this it doesn't matter. I mean, they realize they got a loser case. Her goose is cooked. She's not going to walk out of jail when the trial's over. She's going to be staying in those same handcuffs. She's not going to be going back home with Harvey. She's going to be waiting sentencing, and it's going to be life without parole. So it's uh, it's very much something that doesn't matter what she says. It was going to be limited anyway. The prosecution was not going to try to get into some scathing cross examination. She was just asking a few follow up questions, uh, just to get her talking. But in the end, didn't matter. Her story, like for example, on the flight to escape to Vietnam, was just so much another far fetched tale, an Adelson tale that no one's going to buy that. No one. So don't sweat it. Prosecutions aren't going to spend much time on a witness that's limited purpose outside the jury. Tammy Howes, you're saying, is there really enough evidence to arrest and convict Wendy? Absolutely. And I guess you haven't seen enough of this case, but we've done also a list of indicators a while back, very, very much, I guess it was probably 2 years ago, John, I did that. So I think that one is, you might want to go back and circle and see that. And there's a lot more detailed ones from that. So yeah, so maybe I do need to go through because I've done another list that I presented on Survivor that was much more detailed and referenced. So anyway, yeah, I think I'll yeah, Nancy, you're asking if I'll give more updates on the latest the Karen Reed case. Yeah, I intend to cover that as well. in more details. The future goes on, and there's more developments. And I know there's a motion to dismiss filed for outrageous extraordinary government misconduct. So yeah, that one's got a lot of action in it, a lot of very bizarre things going on in that case. So I'm going to probably break that one down in more detail as well. And so, all right, thanks to you all. I'll go ahead and sign off now. Thanks for your support for Justice for Dan Markell, and I'll be back talking about this case on a regular basis. And if there's anything key hearings or anything like that, I'm going to be covering that. I'm also going to be covering more stuff having to do with the Karen Reed case when if that does go to trial April 1st. Granted, there's a federal hearing on this habeas petition that's going to happen before the trial date. So don't know if a federal court will actually intervene and do something about it, but we'll see. I just don't think there's a lot of things that are positive about the justice system going on in Massachusetts for what I'm seeing. And so I would say that if you guys want to follow that case as well, it's quite riveting, and to see all these different things going on, and how there's a lot of police corruption involved in that case. So anyway, that's all I'll say for now, and you all have a great, safe weekend.